Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment question comes from DVA Amateur, or DV Amateur I should say. And it's in response to, again, I haven't written down what it's in response to. Oh, naughty me. Anyway, it's probably something to do with floppy disks for looking at the first line of this. DV writes, I like this topic about floppy disk media. I like all kinds of removable magnetic media such as tape or disks, as well as optical media like CD, SA, CD, etc. I believe in the past some people drilled holes in the 720DD discs and formatted them as 1.44. Surprisingly, this might have worked. It might have worked, but the 1.44 media uses much more, it's more compression on the disc, and it also is a lot higher power. However, I think 720 discs might be more reliable formatted as 720, of course, due to the coarser magnetic particles. Well, yeah, there is a reason for that. It needs lower power as well. That's the other reason why it tends to work better. A lot of these discs and drives still work, and even if the belts are notoriously to perish, that's quite an easy fix. Although I can never make the disk drive work in my Roland D20, even after I replaced the drive belts. I have 3 D20 units and none of them have working drives. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Anyhow, the D20 is a very playable keyboard instrument, even without the drive working. Because let's put it on the face of it, the sequencer on the D20 does not offer microscope editing. The sounds can be saved to the RAM card, and I think those credit card size RAM and ROM cards is what the synthesizer manufacturers got absolutely right first time round, even if they were expensive. Anyway, I'm a big fan of this topic, so listen to the video in detail. I must say, it's all very accurate stuff. Well, I try to be as accurate as possible. And I agree that the Roland D20, I always think, is the synthesizer in the D range that was the overlooked D synthesizer. I think it's an extremely usable synthesizer. And actually, if you look at the D range, the D70, the D50, the D20, the D10, the D110, the D5, etc. Was there a D22? I can't remember. Yeah, no, it was a U22. Anyway, but if you look at that range of synthesizers, the D20 is the most usable synth, best all-rounder, but not the best synthesizer. That is, by and large, the D50 is the best synthesizer. And my advice with the Roland D20 is don't bother buggering around repairing the belt unless you really understand electronics, because it's probably the drives have come out of alignment, something's bent. It could be all kinds of things on the disk drive. So unless you really understand electronics, don't even bother. What I would do is I would go and find an aftermarket supplier. There are various on YouTube that sell disk drives for these old synths, and they will do the alteration for you, so you don't have to get the soldering iron out. And most of them just come like this one here. There you go, with the cable pre-attached. Okay, so that just needs to be plugged in. That is the idea anyway. So, and the newer models come with direct drive, so you don't have to worry about the belts perishing going forward because it's all direct drive. They're much more robust, so the heads don't tend to go out of alignment as easily as the older ones do. There are so many pluses for just replacing it. Then on the other side, I've probably got people shouting at the screen at the moment saying, why don't you just put a USB drive in? Oh, why not indeed? I'm not adverse to a USB drive in synthesizers and in other instruments that use floppy drives. Again, you need to make sure that they're being altered to fit your drive. So quite often the pin layer on the floppy disk doesn't work. The cheap ones are an utter nightmare. You're going to end up spending about at least £100, if not more, on a floppy disk drive replacement, USB drive replacement. Believe me, the cheap ones, just with a numerical interface on them, they drive you mad very, very quickly. Not worth the aggro. Get the expensive one. Right off bat, just don't buy the cheap ones. There are ones that have remote controls on them now, but that normally involves drilling holes in the case, which I'm not a great fan of. But effectively, so that you can actually have a display of what's on a larger display of what's on the USB. So for selection going forward, not quite sure why you would need it, but there are options around that. More specifically for things like Amigas and other computers where the disk drive is sort of kind of shoehorned underneath it somewhere. But yeah, it's replacing the disk drive is money well spent, whichever way you go. Upgraded disk drive, USB disk drive. Just replacing the disk drive is just so much easier than trying to repair one of these belt drives. They've just basically had it. Next comment or question comes from Behind the Machine. Random numbers. And this was in response to getting an ISO of the Muse operating system. A mailbag I did in September 2022. Behind the Music writes, "Hi, music tech guy, smiley face. Thanks for your great content on the Receptor Rev C machines. I am the original owner of a Receptor 1 Pro, the one with the 750GB hard drive, and I have been so stupid not to clone the drive in my time. Oops. It is just forever hanging in the boot sequence. I will try to see if I can clone as your descriptive videos, but if I fail, if the drive is too simple to damage, is it possible maybe have access to your base ISO to get some server space? Best regards, Anders, Denmark." Well, I said basically thanks for the feedback. Now, the issue with the Muse stuff is that every time they did a hardware revision, so you went from the Rev C to the Pro to the 2 to the 2 Pro to the Trio to the Quattro, they effectively updated the hardware in the box. Alright, so the hardware in the box, it's a computer. At the end of the day, the Muse Receptor is a computer running Linux. But they updated the hardware, and of course that meant things like the Linux version of Linux that it could run changed. The outboard equipment from the board changed. And what they then did was they built the drivers for that specific model into the upgraded software, but didn't build the drivers for other models into the other software packages. So for argument's sake, the Rev C needs 1.7 to run of the operating system, whereas the 2 requires 1.9. Okay, because it has different driver sets. So now what I've said is, that may become an issue that my ISO image is at a level that doesn't have the right driver set for your Receptor 1 Pro. So, the caveat is, if you want something off me, I'm quite happy to help you out. But, and there is a but, okay, it ain't coming for free. This channel costs money to run, and therefore, if you give me a small donation to the running costs of the channel, of course, I will help you out.